Hey, what's going on, guys? That's right, we are finally here. You've asked for it, and here it is. The official walkthrough of my personal load order, and this is gonna be a doozy. So before we get into it, first of all, remember, you asked for this. And secondly, I'm gonna lay out a couple of ground rules. The first of which, I have provided some gameplay on the side. It is cut off, I know, but the main point of the video is for the load order, so I don't think you're gonna be too bothered by that. However, all of the mods featured are in the load order that is being shown on the right, so you can get a kind of an example of what the load order is going to look like. Second, I will not be providing links. I know that may be upsetting, but I am playing with about 250 mods, and that would involve going and getting all of the links to those on the Nexus, as well as going to the Bethesda net and finding which mods are even compatible for Xbox, and then finding said links and including those as well. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that for every single mod on here. However, if there is one mod on here that you want to try to find for yourself, I'm going to give you the name of the mod and the mod author, so all you got to do is go over to Nexus, do a little clickety-clack, and you should be able to find it pretty quick. And finally, I will, however, be providing timestamps. There won't be links, but I will make this video as easy to navigate as possible. I will be including timestamps in the description below, where you can see I have set up by categories here, the different categories of mods that we have, like gameplay, or armors, or weapons, whatever, and then I will have those timestamped by sections, so you can at least come back to this in the future whenever you want to check out mods that I use for specific areas of the game. And one more thing before we begin, if you want a full review of any of these mods, and it's not on my channel already, keep in mind these are all mods that I really enjoy, hence why they're in my personal load order. They may appear on a Throwback Thursday in the future, so stay tuned for that, and maybe some of these will actually be featured as full reviews later. In the meantime, I'm just going to be giving brief descriptions because we have a lot of mods to get through, so let's get started. First of all, of course, we are using Fallout 4 Script Extender, as so many amazing mods require it. It just helps us get a lot of more features into the game, and sadly, of course, isn't available on Xbox, but for those of you PC users, if you're not using Fallout 4 Script Extender, what are you doing? Moving on, we have some requirement mods, such as the mod configuration menu, of course, which is just essential to making mods work and customizing things. The unofficial Fallout 4 patch, AWKCR, which apparently is a controversial topic now, but I do use it and I make it work with everything, so it is possible. Armorsmith Extended, which of course requires AWKCR. The Scopes framework, HUD framework, and Immersive HUD. I only recently started using Immersive HUD to get ready for our Fallout 4 playthrough, and I really like it. You can use it to make a pretty difficult immersive HUD. Funny, and the name. But yeah, they have a toggle option to toggle certain features, and I just permanently leave them toggled off so that I struggle and feel pain. Moving on to the gameplay, we have fixes like the Insignificant Object Remover to increase frames, Boston FPS fix for the same thing. Rich merchants, it's just hard to sell things whenever they only have 1,000 caps, so this increases that a little bit. Quicker cell respawn, I only have active because of mod reviews. I like to have new locations to go through. It's hard to get B-roll when you go to a new location and all the raiders are already dead. This just helps me with that. I won't have that active during any playthroughs, but for mod reviews, it's a necessity. High-res DLC blackface fix. It's just a bug fix that fixes the issue where your skin can sometimes change colors for no reason. No more fake puddles. Gets rid of those disgusting puddle textures. No more twigs. Does the same thing for twigs. And no throwing arc demolition expert perk. I love running demolition expert to unlock some of the really cool explosives from a future mod, but I hate the throwing arc because if you use a weapon with a custom animation, the throwing arc moves to the middle of your screen and shoots out of your face, and it is just the worst thing ever, and I really just don't like it in the first place. Moon Boots Be Gone is an amazing mod, and if you don't use it now, you should use it all the time. There's a few armors in the game that have really big feet for like no reason. It's just how they are. This mod fixes that and makes them normal. Realistic death physics, no animations. Gets rid of animations from death physics. It's the same thing in Skyrim. When you kill a Deathclaw now, it won't do that weird little dance it does. It just dies, as it should. Crafting highlight fix, one of you guys actually recommended this to me, and I will never ever change it. It gets rid of the outline whenever you're looking at a weapon in the crafting menu where it turns everything green or white or whatever your color is, and it just makes it so you can actually see what you're looking at, which is super helpful, especially when you're picking like camos. Those are the fixes, but for gameplay things that actually change stuff, we have Start Me Up, which is the alternate start mod, which if you want to get into the game quickly and not have to play through that vault scene over and over again. Necessity. SKK Fast BOS makes it so that the Pridwin actually spawns whenever you complete the Art Jet quest, so that you can focus on the Brotherhood and not have to play the campaign to unlock the Brotherhood. Bullet Counted Reload System is a mod that makes it so that the lever action and pump action weapons function correctly. Instead of reloading the whole mag, they will only reload the amount of bullets you need, which is how it should have been in the first place, but this game's broken. Basic ammo crafting sounds exactly like what it is. Silence is Golden, just installed because it just came out, but it's Silent Protagonist, updated, smaller file size, sort of, and compact into a nice BA2 instead of loose files. New features from gameplay, which technically those are the same category, I'm just nitpicky. Cheat Terminal, again, only used for mod reviews. When I'm playing the game, I don't actually use it, unless it's for like debugging, if it's out of necessity, but mainly for mod reviews. Fallout 4 Photo Mode is an awesome photo mode. I've done a review on it on my channel. It helps you get some cool screenshots or even take some cool B-roll without having to use a bunch of console commands. You just use this and it's just like dummy, dead simple. It's awesome. Rename Anything is a really fun mod. You can rename stuff on the fly, so you don't have to rename your weapon at a workbench. You can just do it from your inventory. You can also rename anything using the console, so you could rename a chest from chest into, say, weapon storage or whatever. You can even rename your settlers, which is super awesome. You can rename literally everything, even modded items with a couple of tricks. Bullet Time is Bullet Time, and I use it to replace VATs personally because I tend not to rely on VATs, especially because this game actually has a pretty good shooting system. Quick Trade, if you are not familiar, lets you trade with traders and companions with the click of a button rather than having to open up their dialogue menu. Construct a Custom Companion is one that I use occasionally. I probably won't be using it in our actual playthrough on the channel, but it essentially allows you to make a custom companion really easily without having to use the console or make your own mod. You just construct it at a settlement, and then you're done. You can use the new little terminal, and it'll make your companion. You can customize them and change how they behave. Pretty cool. And then finally, Classic Holstered Weapons is exactly what it sounds like. Again, these are some pretty good names. It's just like New Vegas. If you put your weapon away, it goes on your back, and you don't have to download any patches, anything. It just works. This one is straight up magic. Whatever modded weapon you're using, it will just go to your back in the correct placement perfectly. I don't know how they did it, but they did it, and they're just amazing. The last of the gameplay section, we have the survival mods. We have the game configuration menu as well as survival configuration menu. These are settings that you can use in the MCM to really customize the game to exactly how you want to play it. If you think the damage is too high, you can lower it. If you think it's too low, you can make it higher. And this goes into every nitty-gritty detail you could possibly imagine. I may do a full review on this in the future. This was also brought to my attention by one of you guys. I was using an outdated configuration menu before, and one of you guys told me about this, and it saved my life. It is the best. It really is. It's so awesome. Fallout Gas Masks of the Wasteland is a mod that many of you have probably heard of. I have covered it on the channel as well. This one makes it so that gas masks behave more realistically. You actually have to worry about filters, and potentially can make radiation more damaging and happen all the time. I also use realistic headshots. This helps with the bullet sponginess. So you use game configuration menu to lower the health of everybody, and then you use realistic headshots to make sure that there isn't a weird kind of bullet sponginess. And it only applies to creatures that make sense. For example, you won't be able to just one-shot a Deathclaw with a 38 pistol. That's just not going to happen. But for human enemies, if they're not wearing helmets and you shoot them with a gun in the head, they should die. I mean, immersiveness, you know? It's really annoying getting to level 80, and now every raider you run into can just take a missile to the face and just be okay with it. Hunter of the Commonwealth is a super awesome mod, also covered on the channel, that makes it so that you can't just loot your meat and different things from animals whenever you take them out. Instead, you actually have to have a sharp object like a knife. You have to interact with them, and it takes a few hours, and you can harvest the different types of materials, as well as dispose of the body, so that if a mole rat dies in your settlement and it's stuck there, you can use this to get rid of it, and it gets some supplies out of it as well. Classic Radiation Poisoning makes the radiation work exactly like it does in Fallout New Vegas, which is perfect. The radiation applies over the top of your health, and you don't have to lose a max HP as well, and you get debuffs along the way the more radiation you have. So, moving on now to the workshop and settlements. We have new settlements, and there are a few missing from my list here that I haven't installed yet, but I do plan to install. I just haven't tested them yet. But the ones that I do use at the moment are Bright Bluff, which adds a settlement to the Glowing Sea, and then All Settlements Extended, as well as the Far Harbor patch, which will extend the borders. It's different depending on the settlement, but typically like 50 to 100 feet in each direction. It just gives you a little bit more workspace and makes it easier to build. In some locations, that's extended a lot further. There is, however, a mod that I'm looking to add called the Commonwealth Gek Project, which adds like, I don't know, dozens of new settlement locations, but I haven't messed with it yet. But when I do, I'm probably going to cover it on the channel because it really intrigues me and I want to try it. So for workshop fixes, we have Boston Airport Settlement Repaired, which fixes the roof at the Boston Airport, and then Boston Airport Workbench Fix, which makes it so that the workbench actually has access to all of the items rather than just like 2. The Settlement Menu Manager is a requirement for a lot of workshop mods, but it essentially makes it so that you can add and remove settlement item mods at will, and typically it won't break the game. That's not always true, but it does make it a lot easier. Faster Workshop is a necessity if you workshop build. Oh my goodness. It's not available on Xbox, but if you're on PC, Faster Workshop makes it so that when you activate your workshop button, it turns on. And then you turn it off, it turns off. There's no loading, there's no waiting. You can put in as many settlement mods as you want, and it's just done. Place Everywhere is Place Everywhere. If you haven't heard of it by now, then you must be living under a rock. This allows you to place items everywhere in your settlement without having to worry about it. You can also resize things, move things, nudge things, rotate, all kinds of really cool tools that aren't available in the base game. Better Workshop Lights makes it so that the lights actually light things up. You no longer need 5 light bulbs for a room, you need 1, and it does what it's supposed to do. Vault-Tec Simusun Lighting does the exact same thing, but with the Vault-Tec lights. And then new Infinite Settlement Budget plugin. People say not to use this, there's plenty of other ones that do it correctly. This one has never broken anything for me, so I'm going to keep using it. But it gives me an infinite settlement budget. Simple. Moving on to a rather large section here. We have workshop new items. These are mods that add new items to your workshop. So the reason I have them in a certain order here is because this is the way to get all of these mods to play nicely together and not have them overwrite things. I can't believe we're already 15 minutes in and I'm still only on workshop items. This is going to be a monster video. Starting with the master plan, which is a requirement for a handful of mods below it here. It creates a new menu for all of these guys, and then when you install them, they will now be under the master plan. Now, I actually have some patches that make it appear in other locations. Typically, it spawns in your wood structure, which I don't like. This brings it to the structures category, which makes a whole lot more sense. So, one of which is vanilla extensions, which adds a bunch of items that are in the vanilla game, but aren't craftable at your workshop. And that's just different types of walls, different color options, stuff that is in the vanilla base game, and you'll find around the world, but stuff that you can't craft. Cabin in the Woods adds a set of log cabin items, which is amazing, and I use it in the Coastal Cottage build on the channel. Port Royal is a mod that adds a bunch of aquatic-themed items, so like docks and some of the building pieces that are in the base game that are only around water-type areas, and a bunch of boats and different things like that, as well as some decorations. Bob's Iguana Diner adds in 2 or 3 different diner sets that you will find in the vanilla base game, and now they are buildable at settlements with snap points. Box Houses is a bunch of different types of box houses, including box cars, as in train cars, as well as shipping containers and a few other things. Adam's Greatness adds in a couple of church items to the settlement menu. Moving on to my favorite mod of probably all of these is Workshop Rearrange. This is a necessity. First of all, it rearranges all of the items in the vanilla settlement menu to make way more sense and be categorized correctly. Then it adds new snap points to all of those things so that they snap a lot easier, so you're not fidgeting with things all the time. And then finally, it adds hundreds of new items and textures that you can choose between. Instead of just the red barn walls, now you have red, green, white, black, and unpainted. For concrete, that's tenfold. It's just an awesome mod, and it's a necessity. If you can only pick one building mod, I would pick that one. The Curo tab achieves a very similar thing in terms of retextures. It adds a bunch of new items as well as a bunch of variations of vanilla items. One thing really cool that it does is it takes the metal building set and replaces the metal with a homemade greenhouse, so it's like plastic with duct tape. and it's awesome. It's really cool for junky style settlements. This has a lot of really cool options in it. CVC Dead Wasteland, same thing, different items, tons of new stuff, and it's always growing and being updated all the time. Most recently, it had a big selection of RVs added to it, as well as the Brotherhood of Steel walls that I covered on the channel. These are really, really awesome items. If you could only have 2 mods, I would take Workshop Rearranged and Dead Wasteland. The Capital Wasteland Workshop Pack 1 and 2 add settlement items from Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas into the game that you can now craft at your settlement. Snap and Build is Snap and Build. It's been around since the beginning of Fallout modding. It has kind of some redundant things in terms of my load order. However, there are a few sections that I really, really needed from Snap and Build, like having neat, clean walls with windows and some nice roofs. Snap and Build is great. You definitely don't need it, but it is nice to have if you have the space and a big hard drive. Homemaker, same thing. I actually think I may be phasing out Homemaker in my load order with the mods that I have now. I'm pretty sure the only reason I kept it around was for some Brotherhood of Steel items, but I now have those because of CVC. But it is one of the OGs. It has a lot of items and a lot of useful stuff from the vanilla game. No new assets as far as I know, but a lot of good things in there and a lot of cool building kits. Snappy House Kit does the same thing, but expands upon it. It adds in tons of building kits from the base game, as well as some custom things I've seen. There's so many items in Snappy House Kit, I've never actually seen it all, I don't think. Lots of cool decorations, lots of cool building stuff. Check it out for yourself. There's too much to cover in one video. G2M adds a ton of really interesting things that aren't added in other sets, like the ranger cabins that you find around Fallout 3, or Fallout 4, excuse me. There's a full set for that and different window options for them, and they're really, really cool. The main reason that I personally have it installed is it adds a fishing station that you place in the water, and your settlers will actually go and fish at it, and it will gain you food for your settlement. And then a bunch of different things that go with that, and there's honestly, again, too much in this mod to show, but it's amazing. Try it out. Thematic and Practical is amazing. It adds a ton of junky looking items and a bunch of stuff that makes stores really, really cool. It also adds floors that aren't squares, and you can make some really interesting shapes. Woody's Wasteland stuff is a spin on vanilla items. I don't think any of them are actually vanilla, but they're twists of vanilla items to make them cooler and make more sense. And it adds some different structure things, like houses that aren't completely built yet, so it looks like your settlement's still under construction. It has a bunch of animated items like birds in cages and aquariums. There's really, really cool stuff. I'm sorry I'm speeding through these, but again, we have a lot of mods to go, and I'm worried this video is going to be an hour long. I anticipated it being 20 minutes, but we're already at 20 minutes. Creative Clutter. Tons of decorations that you can place. They're in bundles, categorized by type of room. So if you want kitchen stuff, you go to kitchen and then you place things. It's dead simple. It's the easiest way to decorate, honestly. If you could have 3 mods, this is the 3rd. Do it yourself, same thing, except it snaps to shelves. Better Stores is a mod that's only on Bethesda.net. It's interesting. Yeah, it doesn't really have a lot to do with stores, but it has some cool decorations in it. The main thing I use it for is it has some really cool workstations and different things like that. You can also place guard animals like dogs that you can pay caps for, as well as farm animals. So you can farm Mirelurks or Brahmin, and they actually contribute food to your settlement. And then there's also some spots for you to add your own custom textures of like flags and decorations. It has a lot of really good signs. That's the main reason I have it, is signs. There's a lot of signs in this. And there's also some interesting paraphernalia inside the mod as well. You'll have to try that one out for yourself. Sandbag fortifications. Most of you have probably seen it if you're at all into settlements. It adds sandbags and military stuff. Brotherhood of Steel fencing. I don't need that anymore. That's included in CVC. My bad. Sabrina's Workshop devices. Only available on PC because it uses the script extender. This adds a bunch of mechanical things, most notably working elevators and a bunch of really cool powered doors. Workshop Power Pack by Spiffy Sky Trooper. Super awesome. Adds a bunch of new generators that are really, really cool. And you have to unlock them with a magazine, which is a nice touch. I mean, it's not just, here, you suddenly know how to make generators. I do like that. Northland Diggers, Resources, Animal, Landscape, Garden, and more. This adds a bunch of workstations that it's the main reason I use it, is the workstations that you send your settlers to make them actually give you materials besides just the regular scrap workbench. If you send them to the concrete station, they give you concrete. And then there's animations and things of them doing stuff that relates to the concrete. It's pretty cool. Also adds a butcher that gives you meat and happiness. Awesome mod. The Better Armory mod is weapon racks and as well as some gun decorations for your, I don't know, your workshop, whatever part of the settlement you want a weapon poster. But the main thing is these snappable weapon racks that are much better than the base ones. And you can place like 5 weapons all up against the rack. Really, really cool. May do a video on that one too because it's really nice. Where did I put that? Is a mod that is literally just sticky notes with different categories on them. If you want to put a sticky note on a chest that says this chest has armor in it, you can do that. Minutemen Morale Pack, I actually just covered in the Minutemen video. This adds a bunch of Minutemen items to your settlement. And then the last 3 here are just patches. The patch for adding in the Minutemen Morale Pack, the patch for the Master Plan, and the patch for the Sandbag Fortifications mod to make all of these work nicely with Workshop Rearranged. And finally, 22 minutes in, we are done with the Workshop mods. I'm going to go get some water. Okay, back from a water break. I was hoping that I could finish this video quickly without any editing. That is not the case. I have flubbed so many times and I'm going to have to go back and make it so I don't sound like a complete babbling idiot. Weather and audio. There's only one weather mod and one audio mod, so I combine them together. So this is a short section, but for weather, I use Calamity Weathers. I don't use any EMBs because I think this mod is beautiful. It makes the game really dark, and some people might not like that, and it may not be your go-to. But personally, it's Fallout, and that's how I like my Fallout to look. It reminds me somewhat of Fallout 3, but maybe even a little bit darker. I personally really like it, and it pairs well with Reverb and Ambience Overhaul, which is a change to the sound. If you're not running this already, why? It just makes the sounds realistic, it echoes, and it just makes interiors really, really cool. Moving on, Retextures. I don't have a ton. Most of these have actually been added very recently, but they're cool. There it is. I just reviewed on the channel. It came out very recently. It is the very old satellite map texture combined with a couple of new things. He re-photoshopped it, and there's a few additions of it, but it shows you where things are on the map without you having to go there. So if you download the version I have, you load up your map for the first time, you don't have anything discovered, you can actually see that there is a location there without having to go to it. But you can't fast travel to it, of course, because you haven't discovered it yet. Boston Natural Surroundings trees. I don't use the whole mod, I just use the trees. This adds the pine trees that you've been seeing in my videos recently, and will be included in our Fallout 4 playthrough. For landscapes, I use Natural Landscapes 2K by Spiffy Skytrooper. It's my favorite of the landscape mods. It keeps it the vanilla Fallout 4 style, but high quality, realistic, and honestly, it's my favorite. I like it a lot. Also by Spiffy, I use Dilapidated Roads, the Charcoal Edition, which is my favorite road retexture, like, of all time. It's the best one. It's dark, but it's still dilapidated, hence the mod name. It's perfect. Evil Institute HD. This mod took me a while to get working for some reason, but essentially it makes the Institute dark, which is kind of my style of the Institute. I've changed it since our last Institute video, but I will be making an updated version of that soon. Essentially, it makes the Institute black instead of white, and I have a lot of armor mods that will do the same thing that we will show later in this video. Vivid Waters is my favorite water mod. It makes it so that the water looks really, really nice. It's a small file size, and it's just simple. It doesn't change how the water looks in terms of like color, but it makes them really clear and high quality, and it's just perfect. Fallout 3 styled Vaults Gray is a retexture that we actually covered on the channel, and this changes all of the vault items, not just in the settlement, but also the vaults that you encounter in the world. It retextures them to look a little bit more like Fallout 3, and honestly, I prefer that style. Railroad Armor Semi-Modern Retexture. It just retextures that gross railroad armor in the base game. Makes it look nicer. More realistic pipe weapon textures. You'll find later that I remove pipe weapons from the game, but just in case I run into one, I don't want it to look ugly. So this changes it to gray and a normal wood texture rather than the gross orange vanilla texture. Moving on to characters and companions and creatures. I'm going to do this all in one section because it's all kind of the same. I use, for my characters, lots more male hairstyles and lots more female hairstyles and lots more facial hair. It does exactly what it sounds like. It combines a lot of the vanilla meshes to make new hairstyles. Simple. Beautiful settlers makes the settlers look better. Simple. NPCs travel. You've probably heard of it because it's a really old mod. You will now find more groups of NPCs traveling around the world, and you can tweak it with a holotape to change who's traveling, how often, and how many. Really cool mod, and it adds some roaming traders as well, which is really nice if you're doing a survival playthrough. For companions, I use Everyone's Best Friend. I don't have many new companion mods, but when I have a companion with me, I want dog meat too, because why wouldn't you? I also use Capital Wasteland dog meat. Still waiting on a way that I can take both of them at the same time, unless that already exists, in which case let me know in the comments. And then Auto Mines, I don't have currently active, but it is a very, very cool mod. I love, what's his name? Skippy? Something like that. He's a cute little guy. It's the Auto Mines. I have a video of it on the channel. Really cool. Creatures, I used Reptilic Deathclaws 4K, which is a really nice retexture of Deathclaws. I really like the way it looks. It makes them look like actual reptiles. Zombie Walkers changes the way that ghouls behave, and you can make it so that they behave like zombies. I just leave them as ghouls and tweak it to have them roaming around the Commonwealth in hordes and have a higher chance of them attacking your settlements. Fallout 3 New Vegas Feral Ghoul Replacer retextures the ghouls to look like the ghouls from Fallout 4, or from Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. You've seen it. It's part of the Capital Wasteland stuff. Capital Wasteland Behemoths, same thing, but with the Behemoths. DC and West Coast Super Mutants is an awesome mod and a terrifying mod. Doesn't sound like it would be scary, but this mod adds Nightkin into the game. And in Fallout 4, there are Super Mutants who can be Suiciders, who carry the mini nuke on their hands. There's a chance that those guys are also Nightkin, so they will charge you with a mini nuke in hand, and they're invisible. When I die, it's because of them. DC and... Nope, we covered that. Mojave Geckos. It adds geckos to the game. Mojave Mantises. Same thing. Mantises. And that's characters and creatures. I need another break. Quests. I don't have any active because I'm getting this ready for a playthrough. But when I do use quests, I don't typically do like the really big ones like Fusion City. But I do use Old World Religion, which is an awesome mod by Jagged Josh, as well as the most recent Commonwealth Responders mod. It ended up being really, really cool, and in a normal playthrough, I'd run that. It's pretty neat, and adding a new faction into the game, and it gives you a lot of options for settlement building as well. Now, armors. I have a lot of them, and actually a lot of these you guys will be familiar with because they've been included in mod bundles. And if they haven't, you're going to get maybe a small sneak peek. So for Raiders, we use Raider Gangs Extended, which adds new Raider Gangs. Technically, this should be somewhere else in the load order, but I just keep all my Raider stuff together. I also use Leveled Raiders, which makes it so that they actually level with you instead of being level 1 all the time. Raider Armors Retextured. I mean, yeah, it retextures the Raider Armors. Classic Combat Armor adds the Classic Combat Armor from Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas into the game. Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland Classic Metal Armor. Same thing, but for Metal Armor. Capital Wasteland Raider Pack. Same thing, but Raiders. And then I have the CBBE slide support, but I haven't cleaned this up, I guess, as well as I should have. I don't have CBBE, so there's no need for that. Toxic Raider Armor and Toxic Raider Armor worn by NPCs adds in a new cool Raider Armor set, as well as a leveled list patch. Clothing of the Commonwealth adds a ton of new Under Armors to the game, all with variations, so every Raider doesn't look identical. Fallout London Junkie Knight Armor adds a really cool handmade knight armor set. Some people don't like this one. I personally think it's awesome. I mean, it's handmade, so you could assume that a Raider made it, and it looks like knight armor. It's so cool. Echoes from the Midwest Metal and Raider Armor are mods by the same guy that made the Junkie Knight Armor. Really good, lore-friendly looking armors for the Raiders, just to increase diversity, which is my big thing. And then the Echoes from the Midwest Raider Armor rates changed by me. It's my own personal mod. I understand some people have had some issues with it, but if you have the ESL versions of these mods, it works great. It just changes it so that the armors actually spawn on the Raiders, because typically they don't. Armors for Settlers. We have Backpacks of the Commonwealth, the Capital Wasteland Outfit Pack, and the Capital Wasteland Merc Outfit Pack. Backpacks adds backpacks, and these two add new outfits from Fallout 3. For the Children of Adam, I have Children of Adam Power Armor, which it's power armor for them. Church of Adam, which is a ton of awesome new armors. for the Children of Adam. Same thing with Adam's Glory's threads. And a patch for the Church of Adam that makes these two work together. For Gunners, we use the Gunner Outfit Pack and the Leveled List patch. Adds a ton of new armors as well as ranks to the Gunners, which makes them way more fun to fight. For Minutemen, we use Militarized Minutemen, as we saw in the most recent Minutemen video, as well as the retexture for the vanilla armors to make it kind of match the Militarized Minutemen theme. For the Railroad, I currently only use the Railroad Uniform mod, which adds a new Railroad uniform, and it'll spawn occasionally on the Railroad. I'm looking for more, so if you know of any, please recommend them. I haven't been able to find anything. For the Brotherhood of Steel, I use the Brotherhood of Steel Armor Overhaul, which adds some really cool modern style armor, but not like tactical or real world modern per se, but more sci-fi. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. The Institute. If you were to go watch my Institute video, a lot has changed. So I may be retouching on the Institute later, but I use Cross Courser Strigidae with the extra textures, as well as the Institute Expeditionary Suit with the extra textures. On top of that, I use Look at Me Edition Black, which will change a lot of the features of the Institute. However, I end up putting more textures on top of that. The main reason I use Look at Me is for the clothing of people who are actually inside the Institute location. It makes it black and then a corresponding color to which department they work in. Then it does a similar thing to the synths, but I change that with Dark Synth Uniform, which makes a black uniform. The AS Synth Armor redone black, which makes it so that they have a black helmet and armor, and a blue visor that glows in the dark. And then Dark Institute Weapons, which makes the weapons black and red. And altogether, these mods make for a really cool style of Institute, and I will be showing that off in a future video. And that's it for armors. Cool. 34 minutes in. Let's keep moving. Weapons. We have fixes first. I have no more pipe guns. Removes all the pipe guns. That's a me thing. A lot of you guys like them. I personally don't. There's definitely better options than just removing them completely, but I gotta make room for all of my awesome new weapon mods. Combat Rifle rechambered to 5.56 because it should be. There's no way that that thing shoots 45s. That just doesn't make sense. DLC weapons in the Commonwealth adds the DLC weapons into the Commonwealth. Laser weapons first-person reposition is a must-have if you use laser weapons of any kind, especially the Institute ones. Instead of taking up their whole screen, now they don't. Stick mag for submachine gun makes it so it's not just drum mags, now it's actually stick mags as well. AARP changes the assault rifle into a 308 machine gun that is always automatic and has way more realistic weapon parts. New Vegas Uniques Mega Pack, we actually uploaded a video on yesterday as a part of a throwback. This adds a bunch of New Vegas weapons into Fallout 4. Super, super cool. Unique Uniques makes it so that the unique weapons in Fallout 4 actually make sense and are unique and have cool effects and look different from the regular weapons, which is a big problem for me in base Fallout 4. Moving on to actual new weapons, we have explosives. I use the China Lake and Hollow Rifle, the patch for that for bullet counted reload, the Grenade Expansion Pack 2, as well as the China Lake patch, which makes it so that they work together and use the same ammo types. But this will add a grenade rifle, and this will add the grenade launcher, both of which from Fallout New Vegas. For heavy weapons, we use the Mark 41 Gyrojet machine gun, which is a really crazy, unique weapon that you find in Fort Strong. The M2045 Magnum revolver rifle, which is just a monster weapon. I don't know if that's going to stay in here, but it's pretty neat to see the Brotherhood running around with those. The modular Simonov anti-tank rifle. We actually have a mod throwback on that on the channel. It's a big, gigantic tank rifle. MG42, and then a patch that removes the meme weapon from it. The anti-material rifle, and the same patch for that. The M60, and the handmade anti-material rifle, which is a gunner version of the anti-material rifle that only shoots one shot at a time. Energy weapons, I am a bit lacking currently, so this may not reflect what may be my future load order, but at the moment, we use the post-apocalyptic handmade weapons replacer for the laser musket, which was covered in my Minutemen video. The layer, the Glock 86 plasma pistol, the laser RCW, and the Watts laser gun. Things I would like to add to this are the recharger rifle, if that ever gets a patch to add it to the leveled lists rather than replacing one of the vanilla Fallout 4 weapons, as well as a proper plasma caster. I know there's a few out there, I just haven't installed them yet. Sue me. I've been trying to clean up this load order as much as possible, so I haven't added anything new to it. For rifles, this is definitely our biggest category in this pack, but we'll just go ahead and get right into it. The Cowboy Repeater, the EM2, which is a really cool, unique bullpup rifle, the Lee Enfield, the Gewehr 43, awesome, underrated mod. I've already covered that on the channel, but it's awesome. It's one of my first mod reviews, actually, from way back, so it may not be the best quality video now, but good mod. Another one's Walter Gewehr 43 add-on. This adds some more attachments to the original. Mosin Nagant, M1 Garand, Remington Model 8 is a very old, also underrated weapon. Has not the best animations per se. They're really cool. They're just kind of slow, but it's a very unique weapon. If you've played Battlefield 1, you've seen it. The SVT-40, the Russian Recon Pack, Steyr AUG, HK G3, the L96, the Russian Assault Pack, which I can't give enough praise. It showed up in every top 10 weapon mod video I've ever done because it's amazing. You can't go wrong with that mod. The FN FAL, the FN FAL with the patch that removes the meme guns. The Galil, as well as its patches. Crossbows of the Commonwealth. I know we just got a new crossbow mod, but honestly, this one's just too nostalgic. I can't get rid of it. Springfield Armory M1A, probably my favorite weapon mod in this list, if I had to be honest. Standalone weapon, rather. The Bullpup Bozar, DKS 501 and a sound replacer. The AKM Assault Rifle. The World War III Weapon Replacers AKM. This mod is not available anymore, but it replaces the handmade AK in the Nuka World DLC with the better AK. The Ruger Mini 14, the Service Rifle, the Service Rifle's patch, which adds the correct ammo types, and the Varmint Rifle. You'll see I have a lot of weapons from past Fallout games, because, I mean, why not, right? For SMGs, we have the MP5, the UMP, the MP7, the OTS Kiparis, the Ingram Mac-10, the Grease Gun SMG, the Defense Gun, the Fallout 3 10mm SMG, specifically the one by Cypher, that's my preference, and the IMI Uzi along with his patches. If you look up any of these on the Nexus, you will not be disappointed. These are all great SMG mods, and they were all featured in my top 10 SMG video. Shotguns. It looks like I have a lot here, but most of these are patches. I have the MTS 255 Revolver Shotgun, the TAZ 194, the Mossberg Pump Action, the Riot Shotgun, the Single Shotgun, Caravan, the Hunting Shotgun, the Bullet Counted Reload Patch for the Hunting Shotgun, and then the Sawn-Off Shotguns that just came out pretty recently. I use the over-under version. I know you can do both, but I feel like there's not a point in having two side-by-side sawed-offs. Pistols. We have the OTS Pernock, the Hunting Revolver, the Colt Single Action Army, which is the 357 from New Vegas, the 12.7 Sig Sauer, which is also from New Vegas, the IMI 50AE Desert Eagle, the Mag Removed patch, which just came out recently. If it's Nova Finches specifically, the model has the mag removed, which if you threw it up on a placard or whatever, it would have the mag just kind of floating there. This mod fixes that. The 9mm pistol by Deadpool 2099, the Glock 19X, which came out pretty recently and is on the channel, the Beretta M9, the 9mm patch for the Beretta, the 45 auto pistol. It's my go-to 1911. But there's probably better ones out there, but this one's my favorite. The Capital Wasteland 32 pistol, which also came out pretty recently. It's an underpowered pistol, but it's nice to have that stuff for your early leveled load order. Melee weapons, I don't have a ton. I use the Capital Wasteland Auto Axe, the Bumper Sword, the Murdering Chainsaw, and the Fire Axe. If you like melee weapons, check out MCAM. That is like 100 melee weapons in one pack, and it's really, really good. And then we're actually at the end. I have the Armorsmith Extended Diamond City Guard Outfit Override patch. It's a mouthful. It just makes it so that the guards appear correctly. There's a bug with AWKCR and their leveled lists and stuff. And then at the end, I use Scrap Everywhere and the Scrap Everything and the Scrap Everything Building Placement fix. This just always has to be at the end for it to work properly, so that's why it's there. And then I have two unchecked mods that I use specifically for mod reviews when I need them. One is the Settlement Attack System, so that I can call a settlement attack whenever I want. That's for like settlement building videos and stuff. And then another one's Test World I use for the Build School series. We only have one episode of that right now, but it's really good for a blank settlement that you can teach people on. And at 42 minutes, that's everything. And I didn't even show examples of the mods. I know that you guys might have wanted that, but that was 42 minutes of me just reading them. Imagine having to go and record all that. I'm sorry, but it's not happening. But if you made it through that entire thing somehow, and you're here, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know why you're that crazy and you want to hear me talk so much. I'm sure that my voice sounds significantly different from when we started this video because I've been talking for 40 minutes straight, and now it's time for me to go record 40 minutes of B-roll. And the fun part is, after this, I get to listen to all of this and edit out all the times I misspoke. No, but on all seriousness, guys, this is the 1,000 sub special. If you're here, listening to me right now, I can't thank you guys enough. Like, seriously. There will be more awesome videos coming that aren't this, but a lot of people have been asking for my full load order. So here it is. Again, you wanted this. Hopefully, there's some mods in here that you've never heard of and you want to try out for yourself. I'm sorry I'm not linking them, but that really is just a lot. It is a lot. Maybe eventually I'll come back and create a linked version or a master mod list or something. But in the meantime, that's not happening, especially because I feel like my load order is going to change a lot in the future. So I don't want to do that and then have it all be different in a year, you know? But we may revisit this occasionally. As my load order changes significantly, we may come back maybe yearly, maybe at sub goals, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But once again, if you guys are here at the very end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like. I don't expect you to, but you know, this is a good resource if you ever want to come back and get some mod ideas, because I do have a lot of them. And more importantly, this is a working load order with no crashes, like ever. I never crash unless I'm like purposefully doing something I'm not supposed to. So with that, this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.